Hey everybody, it's me again, Randy Ray at The Literate Texan. And not too long ago, thanks to viewers like you, I hit a total of 2,000 subscribers. And it's customary here on BookTube, or at least our little corner of BookTube right here, to do a question and answer session with the audience. And so I did a call for questions, and I got a total of 41 questions from the audience, which I think is a record because I've done this twice before. At any rate, I'm going to answer these 41 questions, but I wanted to make things a little more interesting this time. Instead of just giving you straight answers to 41 questions, we're doing 40 truths and a lie. I'm going to lie in my answer to one of these questions, and I'm not going to tell you who. You're going to have to comment down in the comments field which one you think is a lie. And the first person to get the lie right, you pick out which one's the lie, you get a prize. I'm going to send you a book, hand-selected by me, chosen by me, for you to read. I'll send that out to you. And also, I found a beautiful blue-eyed blonde who's going to stay off screen, but she's going to be the voice of the audience today. And we're just going to get started right now with question number one. You're on.
What are some of your favorite Frank Sinatra albums?
Okay, I'm going to give you two. My first favorite Sinatra album is also my choice for the best album of all time. Not just Sinatra, but anywhere, and that's In the Wee Small Hours. And my second favorite Sinatra album is the album that came out the following year, and it was called Songs for Swingin' Lovers. And Sinatra did that. He would alternate between an album full of torch songs where he was brokenhearted over some woman, and then he would make his next album about how he was out there and ready to fall in love again. And he did that for a while. You know, he would alternate themes on his albums like that. But those would be my two Frank Sinatra albums. Number two.
What's your favorite Shakespeare play?
A Midsummer Night's Dream is my favorite. And that's probably a surprise because most people like the tragedies. But I've had a soft spot in my heart for A Midsummer Night's Dream ever since I saw it performed at the Dallas Theater Center at Theater in the Round. I was in my early 20s, but it was just great. Number three.
As a result of all your reading, what area of knowledge do you feel you know the most about?
English grammar. Number four.
You made a video a while ago about incorporating the schedule of C.S. Lewis into your own life. What observations have you made?
Well, the biggest observation is I'm not very good at following a schedule, whether I made it for myself or whether somebody else made it for me. I don't have much to report about C.S. Lewis, sorry. Next.
What are the primary reasons why you read as much as you do?
You know what? It's the most entertaining activity that I can think of is reading. It's just more entertaining to me than my other hobbies, which include cooking, watching television. I'm a big cinemaphile too, but none of those to me are as entertaining or as enjoyable or soul enhancing as reading books.
Do you like the Firefly main theme song by Sunny Rhodes?
I do, yeah, it's cool. I'm not a music critic, so I don't have much to say about it, but I do know what you're talking about. I did like the TV series Firefly, and I did like the song.
What are the best ways to stay hydrated?
Well, ice water with a little salt in it is one way, but also any type of Gatorade or Powerade or sports drink, if you get the 0-calorie version of it, that's a good way to stay hydrated too.
Who would win in a fight? Robert E. Howard or Ernest Hemingway?
You know, that was a tricky one for me. I finally decided that we're assuming they're both in their prime. So I decided that Robert E. Howard was probably a little crazier than Ernest Hemingway, and the crazier someone is, the more likely they are to win a fight. So I'm going to say Robert E. Howard would be more likely to win than Ernest Hemingway. But your opinion may differ, and your opinion might even be more valid than mine. I don't know.
Which work by Bill Shakespeare is your favorite and why?
Okay, so that seems like the same question that we had earlier, but the earlier question asked about plays. And William Shakespeare didn't just write plays, he also wrote poems. And my favorite work of all of them is the sonnets, which you should know if you've been watching the channel regularly, because we've talked about the sonnets multiple times before, and guess what? There's more content coming about the sonnets later, too. Yeah, and the sonnets are just terrific. You don't have to have any background. You don't have to keep up with a bunch of characters. You can just dip in, and each sonnet is only 14 lines long. There is an overarching narrative in the 140 or so sonnets, but you can ignore that and still appreciate a single sonnet at a time, which is nice. You can enjoy it either way, as a large work or a small work. You don't have that flexibility with the plays.
If Philip Marlowe had a crime-solving contest with Nero Wolfe, who would solve the crime first?
Well, I'm going to say Nero Wolfe, but I think it's going to be close to a tie. I don't think Philip Marlowe's as smart as Nero Wolfe, but he's willing to get out there and get his shoes on the pavement. Nero Wolfe, of course, he's smart, but he's not willing to go out. He's got to send somebody out on him, so that's going to lose some time in the crime-solving process. So I'm still going to go with Nero Wolfe, but it's iffy.
Do you enjoy the westerns of Elmore Leonard?
Of course. Elmore Leonard's great. I enjoy everything Elmore Leonard has written that I've read, including and especially his westerns.
If you could take only one of the following albums to a desert island, which would you choose? A. Moody Blues. B. Aloha from Hawaii Live from Satellite. Or C. Elvis 68, The Comeback Special.
You know what's funny is I've seen all of those multiple times. Elvis, the 68 comeback special, would be the one that I would want on the desert island with me, though. Aloha from Hawaii was awfully good, though. I watched those with my mom when I was a kid.
Are you an Outlaw fan?
Yes, I am. I'm assuming you're talking about outlaw country music. And this question reminds me of a first date I had with this beautiful yoga teacher here in town. Her name was Jessica. And we were driving to Dallas to go to the comedy club. We were going to eat dinner before it at the steakhouse, one of those Brazilian steakhouses. And she asked if we could listen to some outlaw country music on the drive over there. And it was a double date. There were four of us. And I said, yeah, sure we can. And then she started to explain what outlaw country music was to me. And I said, honey, you don't have to explain what outlaw country music is. I'm just going to put in a Willie Nelson album. Because I know what outlaw country is. And she swooned, of course, when she found out I knew what outlaw was.
Regarding local Americana, Outlaw, have you ever had a conversation with the devil while wandering in a drunk poet's dream on a snake
Farm? You know, Ray Wiley Hubbard, did you write that comment yourself? That's what I'm thinking. Next.
On guitar, do you only play acoustic?
I mostly only play acoustic. I've got an acoustic guitar with steel strings, and then I've got a classical guitar with nylon strings, but I don't play an electric guitar, no.
Do you have a favorite model or build and setup, or does it depend on why or where or what you're playing?
I do have a favorite model guitar. There's a Texas craftsman. His name is Vince Paulus, and he lives up near Gainesville. And he custom makes guitars specifically for Texas singer-songwriters. So he's made guitars for people like Jerry Jeff Walker and Jack Ingram. And Brian Burns is a friend of mine, and he used to be one of my favorite Texas country musicians, singer-songwriters. Well, in fact, he still is. But he's retired from the music side of the business, and he sold me his Paulus guitar. So I've got this beautiful 15-year-old Paulus guitar here, and that's what I play off almost all the time, especially if I'm performing in front of an audience.
Do you have a favorite film genre, director?
I do have a favorite film genre. Film noir is my favorite film genre, and David Lynch is my favorite film director. Although, you know, the answers to that might change if we did this again tomorrow. And that should always be the case when someone's asking for favorites. The answer might change anytime.
Do you have a favorite example of a poem or book that's in a movie or that's inspired the making of a movie?
There's a quote at the end of the movie Seven. It's Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt movie. I think Gwyneth Paltrow is the leading lady in it. But at the very end of the movie, they quote Ernest Hemingway, and it's Morgan Freeman delivering the quote, so you know it's good right there. And it has something to do about the world being a wicked place, but it was still worth fighting for. And that came straight from Hemingway. So that would be my favorite example of that.
Similarly, do you have a favorite example of a movie quote, book quote, or poem that inspired a song or used directly in a song?
No, I don't have any examples of that. Oops. Well, yeah, no, I don't. I was thinking about an example, but I can't think of one. I can think of some stuff that came close. Like, for example, there's a song by Pink Floyd called Time, and some of the imagery is the same as the poetry, as in the poem to his coy mistress. And I think the line in the song is, we run and we run to catch up with the sun, but it's sinking. And then in To His Coy Mistress, he talks about, we won't be able to catch the sun, but we will make him run, which I thought was terrific. When I taught high school, I used that in one of my lessons too. Everybody got a kick out of listening to Pink Floyd in my English class. Tiffany gave me a thumbs up. She thought that was cool.
Do you have a guilty pleasure read or watch or listen?
Yeah, I've got a guilty pleasure TV show that I like to watch. It's called F-Boy Island. It's a reality show, and the idea is there's 3 women contestants, and they're supposed to distinguish whether the guy's an F-boy or a nice guy. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it any more than that because it's such a guilty pleasure that I'm already embarrassed that I admitted that I like the show on camera.
What inspires you most often, most easily, most holistically?
You know, what inspires me? You know, I guess the written word in various types, you know, inspires me, especially if it's something that's extremely well written. So like, you know, the poem Ozymandias, When You Are Old, those both inspire me. Anything by Shakespeare inspires me. Harold Bloom, the literary critic, used to talk a lot about the literary sublime. I don't know that I'm inspired so much by the literary sublime, but I kind of want to learn more about it over the next year or so and see if maybe that inspires me too.
What's something new or interesting you've learned recently?
Well, you know, there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence and AI, and I have been polishing up my means of using ChatGPT because I used to be a freelance writer, and I know a lot of writers use ChatGPT just to write articles for them. But the tool is capable of so much more than that if you're willing to use it. You just have to be careful to fact check it because ChatGPT will lie its ass off to you. So you got to be real careful that the answers it gives you are accurate and true and honest.
Great advice. What's a skill you would love to learn or an activity you would like to try?
Golly, I don't know. You know, I've been thinking about getting voice lessons because I do sing and play the guitar, but I feel like I'm a better guitar player than I am a singer, and I'm not a very good guitar player. So yeah, I'd like to learn how to sing better.
Do you believe in UFOs?
No.
Have you ever personally seen one?
No.
What do you think is the biggest mistake you made with your BookTube channel, or something you would have done differently in hindsight?
Yeah, okay, that's pretty easy one. I would have launched my channel sooner, and I would have worried less about being a perfectionist. There was equipment that I thought I needed in order to start, and turns out all you have to do is turn this camera on and start talking about what you've just been reading and upload it to YouTube. It takes no time at all. And if you've got a winning personality like mine, you'll find an audience. And you'll find an audience even if you don't have a winning personality like mine. I see it all the time. I see people with terrible personalities with followings. You know, your audience is out there somewhere, but you'll never reach them if you never launch your channel.
What is your favorite book on the subject of music or musicians?
I have a visual aid. This biography of Dean Martin is terrific. And I haven't finished it yet, but it's called Dino, Flying High in the Dirty Business of Dreams. And the author's name is Will you look on there for me? I can't. Y'all know I'm having trouble with my eyesight these days. Who's the author of that?
Nick Tosches.
Nick Toshin or Tushin, yeah. I don't think he's still alive anymore, but I could be wrong about that. But I read a book, and he had written the introduction to the book, Nick Toshin had. So I went out to see what else he had written, and this was what came up. And I love Dean Martin anyway, so I started reading a biography, and I'm still in the middle of it. It's a good, thick biography. There's plenty to it, but it's really well written and interesting.
What was the first song you learned on guitar?
Knocking on Heaven's Door. Took me a year, but I learned it. I was a very slow learner.
If you won a prize that allowed you to travel to any one country in the world with the stipulation that you had to learn the language first, which country would you choose?
You know, when I worked at Hotels.com, I had a birthday. And we had a sort of a foreign exchange employee there. We had just opened our Hotels.com branch office over in Europe. And we had a young woman who was working for us named Marianne, and she was from France. And when she found out it was my birthday, she wrote me a birthday letter on a blank piece of printer paper, but she spritzed it with some of her perfume and put it in an envelope for me. And I kept it for years. I had such a crush on her. So obviously I would go to France and learn French.
If you were to write a book, assuming you haven't already, what kind of book would you write?
There's no telling what would come out of the keyboard if I sat down and really started to write a book. It'd probably be a Western or possibly a Sword and Planet novel like John Carter of Mars, that sort of thing. That's most likely. But it wouldn't be beyond me to write a nonfiction book either, like, you know, how to win at gambling or how to play poker. You know, I'm liable to do that too. You just never know what's going to pop into my head at any given time.
When did you first start playing guitar?
I started playing guitar in 2014 when I quit drinking. I quit drinking and I suddenly had a lot of time on my hands because I was a bar fly and I hung out at the bar every night. And when I quit drinking, and I thought, well, I probably shouldn't be hanging out at a bar every night. Well, what am I going to do with my free time? Well, it turns out I'm going to read books and play my guitar.
And who taught you to play?
I have the greatest guitar teacher in the world. His name's Dave White. I live in Denton, Texas. Dave's my guitar teacher. But also when I perform publicly, he accompanies me on his mandolin.
Who is your favorite writer of science fiction?
My favorite writer of science fiction is Thomas Disch, and he was not super prolific. I think he's written maybe a dozen books, but I read a scary book from him one time. I think it was called MD, and it was really good psychological horror with a science fiction backdrop. You know, he wrote other books besides that, but that was my favorite of his so far.
Who are your favorite poets besides Shakespeare?
Gary Snyder is one of my favorite poets. W.B. Yeats is a favorite poem of mine. I'll probably stop with just those two. You know, I'm not nearly as well versed in poetry as I would like to be, but I'm working on it.
What's your favorite type of food?
Sushi, my favorite type of food.
As a kid or adult, did you ever go apple scrumping?
Yeah, I went apple scrumping all the time. Didn't everybody?
If not Texas, what state or country would you choose to live?
I would live in Vietnam. And that's because I work virtually. I can do my work from anywhere in the world. All I need is a laptop. And Vietnam has the lowest cost of living anywhere in the world, you know, so I could live like a king in Vietnam on my current salary, you know. But yeah, there's videos about that on YouTube that you can watch. But yeah, Vietnam's where I would go.
How long have you been a regular YouTube viewer, not just BookTube? And which channels have you been watching?
You know, I used to work at Hotels.com, and so I had to stay abreast of what was going on the internet all the time because I was in the internet marketing department. So I want to say I started watching videos on YouTube from the very beginning of YouTube. In terms of who that I'm watching on a regular basis these days, golly, it's a lot of different people. I probably watch Steve Donahue as much or more than anybody else, but I've also watched like Clifford at Better Than Food. There's Mark at Book Time with Elvis. You can look, you can do this, go into the search box at YouTube and look up favorite booktubers and then my name, Literate Texan, and it will give you some videos that I've made. I've made at least 3 videos where I list YouTubers that are worth watching. And that way you can get a more complete list than I'm able to give you in this little video here. Because that whole question, like I say, could make up 3 videos and has.
What are your favorite books and film set in Texas?
My favorite book set in Texas is called Dwayne's Depressed. And it's part of a series of books by Larry McMurtry that also include Texasville and The Lonesome Picture Show. The Last Picture Show, excuse me. Lonesome Dove's also set in Texas for at least part of the novel, but I included it just because it's so wonderful. But yeah, Dwayne's Depressed would be my favorite of any of those, though, except for, it'd be tied with Lonesome Dove. Dwayne's Depressed is an example of a novel with a terrific title. No, got that backwards. It's a terrific novel with a terrible title. Dwayne's Depressed. But they're all by Larry McMurtry.
Do you believe the theory that Shakespeare wasn't a real person, or that another person or group of persons wrote Shakespeare's works? If so, who is your candidate for who wrote Shakespeare?
This is probably going to piss off at least half my audience, but I believe that Shakespeare wrote the works of Shakespeare. I'm a Stratfordian all the way, to the hilt, baby.
Is there any Is there any chance you will finish your read aloud of The Lost World?
Absolutely, there's a chance. I intend to finish it. Now, it's possible I could die before I finish it, but that's really morbid. I'm not planning to get hit by a bus or anything like that. Those videos aren't very popular. People don't watch them, but the people who do watch them really seem to like them. And so for those people who do really like them, I am going to finish those. And I intend to get started on finishing those this week. I was reading a chapter a day for a while, or a chapter a week. I can't remember which, but then I stopped when I noticed that they were getting very, very low viewer numbers. But I don't care if they get low viewer numbers now or not. I'm going to finish the book. We're more than halfway through anyhow.
What's your best how-to advice for staying sexy?
That one's actually pretty easy. Stop trying so hard. You're sexy already, folks. You don't have to try to be sexy. You are sexy. Just relax. And it sounds trite. Be yourself. And somebody out there, the right person, is going to find whatever qualities you've got going on sexy. And the reason that was the last question on this list of questions is because that's how I close all my videos. I give 2 pieces of advice to everybody. I make 2 requests of everybody. The first request is stay sexy, folks. And the second request is to stay hydrated. I learned the hard way that it's really, really important to stay hydrated, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Put your choice for which answer was a lie in the comments. And like I say, the first person to get it right, the first person to pick out which one was a lie, gets a prize, a book chosen by me that I will mail to you in the mail. That only applies to viewers here in the United States, though I can't ship overseas. And like I say, thanks for watching all the way through. Hopefully when I hit 5,000 subscribers, or if I hit 5,000 subscribers, we'll do another one of these. And also, before I let you go, I want to thank Tiffany for being the beautiful blue-eyed blonde who represented the voice of the audience. See you later, guys.